The evening air felt heavy as I stepped into the dimly lit bar. It wasn't a place I usually frequented, but something about tonight made me restless. Sarah had been acting strangely for weeks, distant, guarded, almost as if she were carrying some invisible burden. She'd said she was going to visit her sister, but a nagging feeling in my gut told me otherwise. The bar was lively, the low hum of conversation blending with soft music. I scanned the room, absently, not quite sure what I was looking for, until my eyes landed on her. Sarah. My Sarah. Except she wasn't alone. There she was, sitting in a corner booth, leaning in close to a man I didn't recognize. Their heads were bent together, and she was laughing in a way I hadn't seen in years. Not the polite chuckle she gave me at home, but a full, genuine laugh. Her hand rested on his arm, and the way he looked at her made my blood run cold. For a moment, I stood frozen. It felt as if the ground beneath me had cracked open, leaving me suspended over an abyss. My heart hammered in my chest, every beat louder than the last. I wanted to look away, to convince myself this wasn't real, but I couldn't. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, horrifying and impossible to ignore. I forced myself to move closer, my footsteps heavy and deliberate. She didn't notice me at first, too absorbed in him, in whatever world they created together in that booth. As I approached, I heard snippets of their conversation. "I can't believe you actually did it," the man said, grinning. "Well, it wasn't that hard," Sarah replied, twirling her hair. My chest felt like it was caving in, but I refused to let her see me break. "Not here, not now." As I stepped out into the cool night air, the weight of what had just happened hit me all at once. My marriage was over, and the woman I thought I knew had shattered every ounce of trust one had in her. But this wasn't the end. Not yet, because now I had questions, and I was going to get answers, whether Sarah liked it or not. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I drove aimlessly through the city, trying to piece together the shattered fragments of my life. Streetlights blurred into streaks as I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white. My mind replayed the scene in the bar over and over again, each loop more painful than the last. Her laughter, his smug grin, her hand on his arm. Eventually, I parked in an empty lot by the river. The water was still, a perfect mirror for the chaos inside me. I leaned back in my seat, staring at the ceiling of the car, and tried to make sense of it all. How long had this been going on? Who was he? And why? The questions kept coming, each one heavier than the last, but there were no answers, only a growing void. Morning came before I realized it. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, and I glanced at the screen. It was Sarah. The sight of her name made my stomach twist. I let it ring, then checked the messages she'd left. "Brandon, please let me explain. Come home. We can talk about this. It's not what you think. Please answer me." I deleted them without replying. Talking wasn't going to fix this. She'd crossed a line, and no amount of excuses could undo what I saw and heard. By mid-morning, I finally returned home. The house was quiet, eerily so. Sarah wasn't there, which was a relief. I didn't want to see her yet. Instead, I went straight to our bedroom, searching for anything that might give me answers. If she had been lying to me, there had to be proof somewhere. Her dresser was the first place I checked. At first, everything seemed normal, neatly folded clothes, jewelry in its usual place. But then, at the back of one drawer, I found something that made my heart drop. A small, crumpled receipt from a hotel downtown. The date was just a week ago, and the room was booked for 2 people. I clenched the paper in my hand, anger bubbling up inside me. A week ago, she had looked me in the eye, kissed me goodbye, and told me she had a late work meeting. I'd believed her without question. How many more lies had she told? Determined to dig deeper, I opened her laptop. It was password protected, but Sarah wasn't exactly creative. After a couple of tries, I got in. My hands trembled as I navigated through her emails and social media. And there it was, messages between her and the man from the bar. His name was Kevin. They'd been chatting for months, exchanging photos, making plans, and laughing at my expense. Each message felt like another dagger to the chest. She talked about how boring I was, how predictable. Kevin, on the other hand, was exciting and spontaneous. I wanted to throw the laptop across the room, but I stopped myself. Instead, I started saving everything. Screenshots of the messages, photos, even the reservations they'd made together. If Sarah thought she could get away with this, she was dead wrong. Later that afternoon, Sarah came home. I was sitting in the living room, her laptop open in front of me. She froze in the doorway when she saw me, her face a mixture of guilt and fear. "We need to talk," I said coldly. Her eyes flickered to the laptop, and she instantly knew. She didn't even try to deny it. "Brandon, sit down," I interrupted, my voice sharp enough to make her flinch. "You're going to tell me everything. How long it's been going on, why you did it, and why you thought you could lie to my face." She hesitated, then sat on the edge of the couch, her hands clasped tightly together. For a moment, she said nothing, staring at the floor like a scolded child. But when she finally spoke, her words only made my anger grow. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she said softly. "Kevin was just someone I could talk to. You've been so distant lately, and I felt so alone." "Alone?" I repeated, incredulous. "You felt alone? I've been working my ass off to give you everything, and you felt alone?" Her head snapped up, her eyes flashing with defiance. "You don't get it, Brandon. You've been so focused on your job, on paying bills, that you stopped paying attention to me. I needed someone who made me feel wanted." The audacity of her words left me speechless. She was blaming me for her betrayal, twisting the knife even deeper. I stood up, unable to sit still any longer, and paced the room. "You think that justifies sneaking around behind my back? Lying to me? Mocking me with him?" I pointed toward the door as if Kevin himself was standing there. "Do you even hear yourself?" She opened her mouth to respond, but I didn't give her the chance. "I'm done, Sarah. I'm done being the idiot who trusts you. Pack your things. I want you out of this house by the end of the day." Her face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Brandon, please don't do this. We can fix it." But her tears didn't move me. They were just another performance, another manipulation. I turned and walked away, leaving her sobbing on the couch. In that moment, I knew this wasn't just the end of our marriage. It was the end of the person I thought I was. And whoever I became next, I'd make damn sure he wasn't a fool. I stayed in the bedroom, pacing back and forth while Sarah lingered in the living room. Her muffled sobs filtered through the walls, but I refused to let them affect me. She had made her choices. Now it was time for her to face the consequences. After what felt like an eternity, I heard her footsteps approaching the door. She peeked inside cautiously, her face streaked with tears. "Brandon, please. Can we at least talk about this?" I stared at her, feeling nothing but a hollow ache in my chest. "You want to talk? Fine. Start with why you lied to me for months." She hesitated, her lip trembling. "I didn't mean for it to get this far. Kevin was just a distraction at first." "A distraction?" I barked, my voice rising. "Is that what you call sneaking off to hotels and laughing at me behind my back? A distraction?" Her silence was deafening. She didn't deny it. She couldn't. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the screenshots of her messages with Kevin, and shoved it in her face. "This is who you've been talking to while I was working late, isn't it?" Her eyes widened as she scanned the messages, and then she broke down completely. "Brandon, I was wrong. I know I was wrong, but I didn't want to lose you." "You didn't want to lose me?" I cut her off, laughing bitterly. "You lost me the moment you decided he was worth more than your vows. You didn't just betray me, Sarah, you destroyed us." She fell silent, her tears falling freely now. For the first time, I saw genuine fear in her eyes, not just for losing the marriage, but for losing control. Sarah always loved control, and now she was watching it slip away. "I want you gone," I said firmly. "Pack your things. Take whatever you need, but leave. I'll send you the divorce papers." Her sobs grew louder as she begged, but I turned my back on her. I didn't have any more energy to give her. Whatever came next, she was on her own. Sarah left that night, though not without more drama. She packed her things slowly, dragging it out as if hoping I'd change my mind. But I stayed firm, standing in the doorway as she carried suitcase after suitcase to her car. "I hope you're happy with him," I said coldly as she loaded the last bag. She stopped, turning to face me. "It wasn't about him. It was about us. You stopped seeing me, Brandon." I shook my head, disgusted by her attempts to shift the blame. "No, Sarah. You stopped seeing me when you decided your distraction was worth more than your husband." She had no response to that. She just stood there, staring at me with a mixture of regret and resentment, before finally getting into her car and driving off. The sight of her tail lights disappearing into the night should have felt like closure, but it didn't. It felt like the beginning of a storm I wasn't ready for. I walked back inside the house, now eerily quiet. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of her. Her favorite blanket draped over the couch, the mug she always used in the kitchen. But those reminders were tainted now, their meaning twisted by her betrayal. I spent the rest of the night clearing out every trace of her. Her photos, her clothes, her stupid little decorations. I stuffed it all into boxes and shoved them into the garage. By the time I was done, the house felt emptier, but I felt lighter. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe. As I collapsed onto the couch, my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. I hesitated before opening it, and when I did, my stomach dropped. The text from Kevin read, "Hey, Brand. We need to talk. You don't know the full story." My jaw clenched as I stared at the screen. The audacity of this man, the one who had sat in a bar with my wife, laughing at me like I was some kind of punchline, now wanting to clear the air. I debated ignoring him, but curiosity got the better of me. If there was more to the story, I wanted to hear it, not for his sake, but for mine. "Say what you need to say," I replied, my fingers trembling as I typed. The response came almost instantly. "Not over text. Meet me tomorrow. I'll explain everything." I hesitated. Meeting him felt like stepping into enemy territory, but something told me I needed to do this. I needed answers. Where and when? I texted back. He sent me the address of a diner across town, followed by a time. Noon. I tossed my phone onto the coffee table and leaned back on the couch, staring at the ceiling. What the hell was I walking into? The next day, I arrived at the diner 15 minutes early. I didn't want to give Kevin the satisfaction of making me wait. The place was small and unassuming, the kind of spot where regulars drank coffee all day and tipped generously. I spotted him as soon as I walked in, sitting in a booth at the back. He looked younger than I remembered from the bar, maybe in his late 20s, with a cocky grin that made my blood boil. "Brandon," he said as I approached, gesturing to the seat across from him. "Glad you came." I didn't respond. I just sat down, folding my arms across my chest. "You said you had something to tell me. Talk." Kevin leaned back, studying me like I was some kind of specimen. "All right, no small talk. I respect that. First off, I didn't mean for you to find out like that. Sarah and I weren't trying to hurt you." I scoffed, shaking my head. "You weren't trying to hurt me? You were screwing my wife behind my back. Forgive me if I don't believe your good intentions." He raised his hands defensively. "I get it, I do. But there's more to this than you know." He leaned in, lowering his voice. "Did Sarah ever tell you about her ex?" I frowned, caught off guard by the question. "What does that have to do with anything?" "A lot, actually," Kevin said. "Her ex, his name was Mark. He cheated on her, and it messed her up bad. When she started seeing me, she said it was just payback at first. It was just an ego thing for her, getting back at the nice guy who trusted her too much." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Sarah had always been private about her past relationships, but this was a side of her I'd never seen. "So what?" I asked bitterly. "She used me as some kind of emotional punching bag." Kevin shrugged. "I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you what she told me. She didn't expect it to go this far. But then," he hesitated, his expression softening. "Then she said she started to hate how predictable you were, how safe. She said it made her feel trapped." I clenched my fists under the table, struggling to keep my composure. "And you? What's your excuse?" He had the nerve to smirk. "Honestly, I liked the thrill. Sneaking around, having what someone else thought they owned. It was exciting, but I didn't think you'd catch on so soon. Sarah swore you'd never notice." The way he spoke about it so casually, like it was some game, made me want to slam his smug face into the table. But I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "What's in it for you?" Kevin's grin faded. For the first time, he looked uncomfortable. "Because Sarah's not who you think she is. She's not who I thought she was, either. The moment you walked into that bar, she flipped. She started blaming me, saying it was my fault you found out." "Are you telling me you two are done?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, she kicked me to the curb right after you left. Said she didn't need the drama. She used me, man, just like she used you." I leaned back in my seat, letting his words sink in. Sarah had betrayed me, humiliated me, and now it seemed she'd done the same to him. But while Kevin might have been her plaything, I was the one who had built a life with her. I was the one who had trusted her. Kevin glanced at his watch, then slid out of the booth. "I've said what I needed to say. You do whatever you want with it." He paused, looking down at me with a hint of something resembling regret. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. And just like that, he was gone, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I stared out the window, watching him walk to his car, and wondered what the hell I was supposed to do now. The answers I'd been searching for didn't bring me any peace, only more questions. One thing was clear, though: Sarah wasn't just unfaithful. She was calculated, manipulative, and cruel. And she wasn't going to get away with it. As I drove home from the diner, Kevin's words echoed in my mind. Sarah wasn't just unfaithful. She was manipulative, using everyone around her to suit her needs. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a calculated dismantling of trust, and I wasn't about to let her walk away unscathed. When I got home, the house was quiet. Sarah was gone, her things packed up just as I demanded. But the emptiness felt more like a relief than a loss. I poured myself a drink, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop. If Sarah had been this deceptive, there had to be more hidden beneath the surface. I started combing through her email and social media accounts again, looking for anything I might have missed. It didn't take long to find something. An email chain with her friend Carla, dated months back. Carla had always been Sarah's confidant, the one she vented to when things got rough. But these emails weren't about venting, they were planning. One subject line read, "How to handle Brandon if he finds out." My heart raced as I clicked it open. The email was chilling in its casual tone. Sarah had laid out strategies for deflecting blame, manipulating my emotions, and spinning the story to make herself look like the victim. Carla's replies were just as complicit, full of advice on how to twist the narrative. I sat there, stunned, scrolling through months of correspondence. They laughed about how naive I was, how easy it was to keep me in the dark. Sarah even joked about using the money from my savings to cover her distractions. It wasn't just Kevin. There were other men, hotel receipts, messages, and even a set of photos she'd sent to someone else. My hand shook as I saved every piece of evidence to a folder. If Sarah thought she could destroy my life and walk away unscathed, she was in for a rude awakening. But I wasn't just going to confront her. No, that would be too easy. I needed a plan. One that would expose her lies to everyone she'd manipulated, humiliated, and used. The next day, I made a few calls. First to a lawyer, then to a private investigator I'd found online. If Sarah had spent months weaving a web of deceit, I was going to unravel it thread by thread. The lawyer assured me I had a strong case for divorce, especially with the evidence I collected. As for the investigator, his job was simple: track down anything I might have missed. I wanted the full picture of Sarah's double life. While waiting for updates, I started putting my own plan into action. Sarah loved her social circle, friends who adored her, colleagues who admired her, and family who thought she could do no wrong. But none of them knew the real Sarah. That was about to change. I compiled everything: the emails, messages, receipts, photos, into a single document. Then I wrote a letter explaining everything she'd done. No anger, no insults, just cold, hard facts. At the end of the letter, I attached screenshots of her conversations with Carla, her messages to Kevin, and even the hotel receipts. The letter wasn't just for her, it was for everyone: her friends, her family, her colleagues. I wanted them all to see who she really was. She had built her life on lies, and I was about to pull the rug out from under her. A week later, everything was ready. The investigator had uncovered even more dirt: financial records showing Sarah had been siphoning money from our joint account into a private one. She wasn't just cheating, she was stealing from me. I sent all of it to my lawyer, who promised it would strengthen my case in court. The night before I planned to send out the letters, Sarah called me. It was the first time we'd spoken since she left. Her voice was soft, almost pleading. "Brandon," she said, "I know I messed up, but can we talk? Just once. I need to explain." I laughed bitterly. "You want to explain? Go ahead. Explain how you've been lying to me, cheating on me, stealing from me. Explain why I should even listen to you." She hesitated, her confidence faltering. "I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I was just unhappy. You weren't there for me. And Kevin, he made me feel alive again." "Alive?" I snapped. "You mean reckless? You mean selfish? Don't pretend this was about anything but you." She started to cry, but I didn't care. Her tears meant nothing to me now. "I'm filing for divorce," I said coldly. "You'll hear from my lawyers soon." The next morning, I sent the letters. By the afternoon, my phone was blowing up with messages from Sarah's friends and family. Some were shocked, some were angry, and some thanked me for telling the truth. Sarah's carefully curated image was crumbling, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Later that evening, Sarah showed up at the house, banging on the door. "Brandon," she screamed, "how could you do this to me? You're ruining my life." I opened the door, staring at her with all the calm I could muster. "No, Sarah, you ruined your life. I just made sure everyone saw it." Her face twisted with rage, but I didn't give her a chance to respond. I closed the door in her face, locking it behind me. For the first time in months, I felt free. Sarah's lies had defined my life for too long, but not anymore. This was my story now, and it wasn't over yet.